Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A Fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We welcome you in on a Monday morning to Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. The Eagles will be flying to Super Bowl 52, as will the New England Patriots. Glad you're with us. Hope your Monday's off to a great start. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. And again, once our Australian Open coverage ends on ESPN2, we will kick back to there on the television side. And for those of you that don't know, and maybe many people don't, we talk about Cliff, our board up.
Yes, we do.
The wonderful music magician that he is, hails from Philadelphia.
Yes, he does.
So he is all in on that sound to start off the show, Fly, Eagles, Fly. And, of course, as a former Eagle, you have no problem
Cliff
with
and
that.
I had a moment in the hallway where we just kind of looked at one another just with that acknowledgement of,
Both silently nodded and just looked at each other and went, free Meek.
Yeah. It's exactly. Say who?
Yeah, don't worry about it. But it was a great.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Don't do it. I'm trying to drag you into the abyss. Resist the urge. But it was cool for me to see out of you and Mom, because traditionally haven't been people that have shown a ton of fandom outside of when we were at Notre Dame.
Right.
But in the last week or so, I have seen some of those roots where, listen, you guys were young adults coming of age in the city of Philadelphia while you were there, and I could tell you both felt pretty good for this team getting back to the big stage.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, because you're right. We don't really, outwardly root for any teams outside of Notre Dame, especially when you guys were there. And even so now, that's the one we kind of hold dearest to most. But it was nice to see, spending, 6 years of my career there, both you and Jake Bourne there. It was nice. We loved it. We loved that city. We think it's a great sports city. It is a great sports city. They're fans that will let you know when you're good, and they'll let you know when you're bad. No doubt about it.
You know what? All you want is someone to be honest with you, right?
And they're very honest.
They will be honest
and maybe
with
throw
you.
a full beer at you.
Yeah, or ride the dune buggy up the steps, of the Rocky statue. It's all great in Philly. Obviously, it started in New England before that. And you know how we do these things. It's all about us and our picks.
Sure.
And can we look good?
You were this close to being a hero.
I was
that close.
I was. Please open up the offense just a little bit close, and maybe stop a team on 3rd and 18 close, and maybe don't have Tom Brady on the field close to being right on both my picks.
But instead, once again, we split, so we are even and 500 for the postseason. So it is Super Bowl 52. The New England Patriots will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Deja video. It'll be a rematch of Super Bowl 39,
right?
Which ironically was played in Jacksonville.
Yes, it was.
And, of course, New England had to get by Jacksonville in the AFC Championship game. And there is a lot to get into in both of these games, but let's start with the AFC Championship game, because you did come really close to making that prediction of Jacksonville on Friday look like you were just the smartest guy on the planet. And there's been a lot of talk already about things that happened or didn't happen in that game. By didn't happen, I mean a lot of people are noticing that the Patriots were called for one penalty in that game. It was the lowest number of penalties that a playoff team has had called against them since 2011, when the Patriots had one penalty called against them. But let's just stop right there, because I don't think that had anything to do with the outcome of this game. The thing that keeps coming back to me in the AFC Championship game, Mike, is I go over this, and I'm sure it's going to stick in the craw of a lot of folks in Jacksonville for a lot of this offseason. You have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. You are playing phenomenal defense. You have the Patriots and Tom Brady in a 3rd and 18, and you let them convert a first.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And you can say whatever you want about the penalty against A.J. Bouye in the first half, which was a terrible call.
Yeah, I agree.
Brandon Cooks ran himself out of bounds.
Right.
A.J. Bouye was doing his job. That never should have been a PI. But we can talk about a million different things. You had them right where you wanted them. You had New England down 10, facing a 3rd and 18, and you don't play the sticks. To me, that was the most pivotal point of the entire AFC Championship.
Yeah, listen, and a lot of things leading up to that. I mean, you could start picking your spot, and that's what will happen, I think, Mike, with Jacksonville in the offseason. You're going to do a lot of what ifs. Boy, it's not, because it's not like This was a game where, you were, hey, we're happy to be here, and this is a team that could have won this game. This is a team that put themselves in position to win this game. But whenever you play New England, you have to play New England. And they stopped playing New England. Whether you want to get to 55 seconds left in the first half with a couple of timeouts, I can almost let that slide because you're getting the ball in the third quarter and you're winning 14-10. So I can almost let that slide. But there's so much to get into with this, Mike. But one of the first things that I would ask as an offensive lineman, the play calling in the second half to me by Jacksonville was horrific. And I did my own little scouting this morning, or going over the drives. And in the first half, seven times, Jacksonville on first down threw the ball. In the second half, just 3 times they threw the ball. I threw out the 2-minute drive at the end of the game and the 55 seconds at the end of the first half. Just 3 times. How many times they just slammed the ball up there on 1st and 10 to make it 2nd and 9. The same exact play over and over. I can't imagine as an offense or an offensive line looking up and seeing 8, 9 people up in the box saying, what are we doing? We need a little bit of creativity here. We're winning this game. Let's try and win the stinking game.
Well, and with this group, too, that this is one that is built off that mentality of we want to play bully ball. That's how Jacksonville gets down. That's how they beat Pittsburgh, was just by punching them in the mouth the entire time. You relish that opportunity, but you're also not dumb. You understand that first down is the most important down for Jacksonville because of how limited you are at quarterback. Like, they were doing things that entire game to mask what we could all see very clearly is the chief deficiency throughout this playoff run for that team. And so you get to the second half and you realize, guys, lining up in 2nd down and 9 every time and having to really put it in this guy's lap is not the way that we're going to win this game. And so to that end, it would be tremendously frustrating as a guy up front in knowing that we feel like we're doing this because we have to, but then staring at the first half and say we felt like we had the answer then. So it's that balance between wanting to establish mentality and understanding that it's not working.
Everybody is going to sit here and say, or a lot of people, and I get it, well, Blake Bortles was 23 of 36 for 293 yards. He didn't throw an interception. He threw for more yards than Tom Brady. He played well. You can't put it on him. All I have to say, people, is in the second half, when they needed some drives, they didn't trust him. They did not trust him to make plays on first down. They went into a shell and said, we don't think we can win with this guy out front leading it like they did in the first half. I have no idea why it gripped on them, and maybe he could have. Maybe he could have done it. He was doing it well in the first half. Now, New England made some adjustments. They played closer to the line because a lot of them were short passes. They wanted to take that away. Didn't even try. You didn't even try. You just ran into a brick wall every friggin' first down.
Well, and that's the thing that was so weird, because in the first half, Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator, is the offensive coordinator for the Jags, I thought was doing a masterful job of mixing it up, giving them looks that they weren't expecting. And then it seemed like in the second half, let's just send you, number 27, go get that wall of meat. I mean, that was essentially their game plan in the second half, and that was not going to work. But I also want to go back to the first half, because I think they're up 14-3. Yeah. And the Jags, the last possession of the first half before the kneel down, I thought summed up the problems that they sort of let slip away from themselves here. Okay, they had a 3rd and 7. They had a 3rd and 7 at New England's 44. Coming out of a timeout, they throw a pass, 12 yards, first down. But they didn't get the play off.
How do you delay a game coming out of a timeout?
How do you get a delay of game coming out of a timeout?
Horrible.
Because at that point, they're at the 36. They're at the 32-yard line. If that play is, if they get that play off in time, and now you're thinking, hey man, we could be up 17-3. Yep. We could be up 21-3. We're going to run out the clock with us holding the ball. And if you're going to beat that team, if you're going to beat the New England Patriots, you have to be so good for so long, and you can't beat yourselves. And to me, it started to unravel on that drive for Jacksonville. And then, of course, they had the big, on that next ensuing drive by New England, they had the A.J. Bouye PI, which wasn't a PI.
That was a horrible call.
And to me, that's sort of like, those are the things you can't do. You just can't make those kind of mistakes.
Well, and because you give Tom Brady a chance to do what he does best. Tom Brady and that Patriot offense had been struggling in the first half. They weren't putting up points. So what did you do? You put him in the situation he's most comfortable in. You put him in the 2-minute situation where Tom gets to go out there and call the shots, and they operate in that system almost better than anyone. And it said going into that third down, if you give them a chance, they're going to score, and it's going to do something different to this team. And it's exactly what we saw play out in that. So to me, that delay of game was the biggest play in the game because then you saw their true colors. Compare what we saw from these two championship games, where at the end of the first half, the Jaguars with a lead and about a minute left after that Patriot 2-minute drive, because they went down, marched down the field quick after that PI. Right. They had about 55 seconds left and decided to kneel it out and go into the half. They could have pressed and tried to get points out. What did the Eagles do when they were up towards the end of the first half with about a comparable amount of time left? They put their foot on the gas and they went and they put 3 more up on the board. They said, we can't just sit here and take this lead. We've got to try and bury him. And that confidence that they had, to your point, and Nick Foles to do that, compared to what Jacksonville had in Blake Bortles, is the most telling part of the weekend.
And I believe Philly got the ball first in the third quarter. Did they not? Can you check
Yes,
them?
They did.
So same situation.
Exact
same situation. That and that is the difference. I mean, how many times the old what's one of the oldest cliches when you're going in the locker room with a lead? What is the mantra in the locker room? Play it like it's 0-0. It's 0-0. Play it like it's 0-0. Hey, Jacksonville, play it like it's 0-0.
Yeah.
Play it like you started the game and don't go into that turtle shell. Now, we will give New England all the credit in the world. You absolutely have to, because it's Tom Brady, but you gave him chance after chance after chance because you didn't do what you did in the first half.
And what that sort of mentality changed in this game and how they sort of went about it differently is really what everybody's talking about. That's brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. So clearly it's interesting. We really didn't have this conversation before we got in today, but we're all sort of thinking the exact same thing. And Tom Jackson, by the way, great to see Tommy and Boomer back doing NFL primetime on Sunday. He basically said the same thing, that the Jaguars played a different game in the second half.
But the level of excellence over such a sustained amount of time, I think, has done to all of us. You call it being numb. I think that what happens is that when the Patriots are down 10, when they're down 25 in the Super Bowl, 10 in the fourth quarter today, they believe that they're going to win. But more importantly, the team that they're playing believes that they're going to win. And so you begin to tighten up and you begin to pull the offense back. I talked when we were doing the highlights about how open the offense was for the Jaguars when the game started. It wasn't like that as they got into the fourth quarter, leading by 10. They started to play. It appeared and it felt like they were playing not to lose.
Oh, they absolutely were. Exactly. I mean, and listen, just because we're saying they should have kept it up, because you saw the drive charts in the first half, 9 plays, 4 runs, 5 passes. I mean, the mixture that was going on. Now, all we're saying is they should have tried to do that. New England may have stopped them, but, I mean, give it the chance. Give yourself a chance. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking of you as an offensive lineman in the second half going, my God, what are you supposed to do? You're lying up there, you're looking up and seeing nothing but a wall of meat there saying, there is no shot. And I heard Doug Marrone saying,
you should get wall of meat trending by the way.
I heard Doug Marrone kept saying, we were just hoping to pop one, meaning pop a run.
Yeah.
Really? How were you expecting to pop a run when everybody in the world knew it was coming and you were just running it straight into them?
Well, and you saw them mixing more pressure in on those early downs too, and really trying to infiltrate that backfield. So you had that on both sides of the ball. I mean, we're going to say the Jags didn't address it. It's because the Patriots dictated. Because on the other side too, and I know we were talking about this because I gave the Pats offensive line a lot of credit, Jacksonville refused to get out of that 4-man rush.
Absolutely.
Even after the Patriots committed time and guys to chipping off the edge and did everything they could to mitigate that rush. The first half, I understand 3 sacks are still going to be in that column, but a lot of those even in the beginning felt like coverage sacks. And in the second half especially, you saw nothing from that group when they needed it.
There was one sack where Tom held on to the ball way too long. It was absolutely on him and a good coverage sack. But to your point, and what – give New England credit.
Yep.
After the first sack on Brady, they said, okay, enough of this. They didn't, a lot of times you'll see one DN, the best pass rusher, get chipped. They were chipping both defensive ends on most plays. And then those guys would go out, but they'd slow them down so the only rushers free to rush were the inside guys. And to your point, Mike, they didn't change.
Nope.
And they stopped getting pressure on the quarterback. They brought pressure the one time with Miles Jack up the gut and got home and got a great hit on Brady, but they didn't do it anymore. They're saying, okay, our ends are getting chipped, so they have a tough time getting rushed. Only our D tackles can get a rush here, and they're not getting a rush, and they didn't adjust to that at all.
Well, the other thing, too, is that remember how big that Corey Grant was in that first half?
Yeah.
Little screen pat. He was everywhere. Where was he in the second half? Didn't see anything out of Corey Grant. I mean, look, here's the thing that's got to be maddening for you if you're Jacksonville, okay? Your quarterback, Blake Bortles, threw for more yards than Tom Brady. You also had more yards per attempt than Tom Brady. You had over 100 rushing yards. You won the time of possession battle by almost 11 minutes. And you got the only turnover in the game, and you still lost. If you're looking at that, if I'd gone to a Jacksonville fan and said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to hold the ball for 35 minutes. You're going to get over 100 rushing yards. Blake Bortles is going to throw for more yards and have more yards per attempt than Tom Brady, and there will be one turnover, and your defense will take it. You would sign up for that tomorrow.
In a heartbeat.
You would take that and think we're going to win 99% of the time. And you know what? Somehow you still didn't.
And that's why when they wake up this morning and they look back at all of that, they will be so mad about the one thing we started off this show talking about, because the difference in the game, the only real statistical difference, as tight as it was 6 penalties for 98 yards. People call it hidden yardage all the time. Yep. It's not hidden. It's special teams and penalty yardage. Yep. And it was basically 100. It was an entire field's worth of penalty yardage that showed up for the Patriots when they needed it the most.
It certainly did. And look, there was that penalties. I don't want to hear about that. There was the one A.J. Bouye penalty that should not have been a penalty.
Bad call.
Terrible call.
I agree.
The call on Church on Gronk, you're going to make that call every time
in
this
day and age. Is going to get
whether
called.
you like it or not, it's getting called every other time. So that's what Jacksonville has to deal with. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick showed a real human emotion for like 7 seconds when he was hugging Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. Then he immediately regretted it. But here we are again, okay? Here we are talking about the Patriots doing this again. Tom Brady has now led a playoff win back in the fourth quarter by 10 points or more 4 times. He's done it 4 times. There've only been 11 instances in the history of the NFL, and no one else has done it more than once. So we are now talking about a guy who is at a completely different level when it talks about turning it up and doing it when it matters the most. And Dante Stallworth, who I follow on Twitter, who played with him, he said he's like a predator. Once he gets a sniff of blood in the water, he's like, if I got a chance, I'm going to go for the kill, and he gets it almost every time.
How amazing is this coming off that stat? Because we all felt it, that sinking feeling of dread.
Didn't you?
Where you just knew.
Yeah.
But because it felt routine. It felt like we had seen this time and time again. It's because we've actually seen the same thing. To Trey's point, in the last 3 instances of those 4 comeback wins, all 3 of the last 3 have involved the Tom Brady to Danny Amendola touchdown in that rally. It's the exact same thing every time.
We've seen this movie, right? We've seen this movie.
And by the way, they did this in the second half without their best target in Rob Gronkowski. Who was out with the concussion.
Well, remember, they won the Super Bowl without Gronk
and
last
because
year.
How much were they trying to force it to Gronk in that first half? Because he was that's another thing. It seemed like the defense for Jacksonville got a little softer in the second half because they were really taking a lot away in the first half, and Tom was really trying to force it to Gronk. And, okay, Gronk's out. Okay, we're going to find another way to do this thing, and it's Amendola they're doing it with.
Well, to your point, that may have actually helped them in the chip help thing in the second half, because when you're trying to force it to Gronk, what are you not doing? You're not going to want to keep him in.
To chip,
they didn't throw balls to Dwayne Allen all year, so what was he? Another very capable body blocking off the edge.
Right.
I thought it was really interesting, too, in that second half. I think in a span of 6 plays, they had 2 trick plays, a double pass that went to Deion Lewis, which actually worked until it didn't when Miles Jack got the fumble, which was remarkable, and then the flea flicker. I mean, to me, that showed how much respect that the Patriots had for that Jacksonville defense. I mean, they had to go deep into that playbook last night to come up with ways to move the ball against that defense.
At the end of the day, it's New England, it's Tom Brady, it's Bill Belichick. They are unbelievable. They make the plays when they have to. They wait and they just do their thing until we all, as we said, everybody gets that feeling in their body of like, yeah, they're going to do it again. And it almost seems like even the opponent knows they're going to do it again. And we'll talk about Tom and this offense and this team for the next 2 weeks. But I'm going to tell you, Jacksonville is going to be sick for a long, long time, knowing how they had a lead in this game and how they're going to watch that tape and say, what the hell are we doing this second half? How did we even play like this?
And 3rd and 18, protect the sticks.
Yeah.
Just protect the sticks. By the way, prior to that 3rd and 18, for the entire Brady-Belichick era since 2001, the Patriots were 0 for 25 on converting anything 3rd and 15 or longer in the postseason. So they didn't even think this was possible.
That was the one thing we hadn't seen before.
Exactly right. So thank you, New England, for giving us something new one more time. So maybe that's why Belichick not only had a real moment of human emotion with Matt Patricia, he also made it funny after the game.
Can you just speak to the resourcefulness of Tom dealing with something like that midweek and then coming out and playing a huge game like that?
I mean, look, Tom did a great job, and he's a tough guy. We all know that, all right? But, I mean, I'm not talking about open heart surgery here.
Awesome.
By the way, for those that aren't watching on ESPN News, the outfit that Belichick wore in the postgame, sun's out, guns out. I mean, he had the cutoff sweatshirt.
The cutoff shirt. I mean, it's unreal. It's like he just finished mowing the lawn. Oh, wait, I got a presser? Okay, here, let me go right in.
It's unreal. He always does look like the stay-at-home dad that's like busy doing chores on the weekend. It's incredible.
And I'm so glad the hand talk will be done. My God, did it get out of hand. He got some stitches in his...
Did you say get out of hand?
Yeah, how about that? I made it funny. Ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Thank you.
Brady admitted after the game that he was like, I really was worried on Wednesday and Thursday, and then it calmed down on Friday. You could tell right away, though, that was not going to be an issue for him in that game. No way, no chance, no how. So again, the Patriots now have a chance to do what the Patriots last did, repeat as Super Bowl champs. And oh, by the way, the last time they did it, they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Oh boy.
24-21 Super Bowl 39. They never learn.
No.
They never learn. Go ahead. Go ahead. I love Lane Johnson. We had him on the show.
I do too, but, they're just being them. I mean, Lane has spoken up about being an underdog. They're talking the smack. I don't have a problem with Jacksonville talking the smack that they did because that's who you are. I don't mind you being who you are, but, man, it just seems like New England just sits back, takes some notes on that, and says, okay, we'll see in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, and here's the deal: is Lane Johnson plays right tackle.
Yeah.
How exactly is he going to be the one dethroning Tom Brady?
I think his team.
But the point is, you know what I mean? Like Jalen Ramsey says it, or Calais Campbell says, "Hey, I'm going to be on the field. I can take that guy down." You're going to be blocking for the other quarterback.
Yeah. Malcolm Jenkins is already on record, gone out and predicted the Super Bowl win. So it's prediction season all the way in the works. We remember Alshon Jeffrey in the offseason when he was still a Bear said, we're going to win the Super Bowl. He came out the other day and said, I didn't say who, I just said we.
We said that at the time that he put that tweet out. Absolutely. That's the best part of it. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Speaking of guests, coming up later on, we'll have Jeff Saturday join us at the 7 o'clock hour. Brian Billick from the NFL Network will join us at 8:30, and then at 9 o'clock, Ryan Clark will be in studio here with us. But you know what? There is reason for Philadelphia to be optimistic because no one gave them a chance. They were the number one seed, and they were underdogs in each of their first two playoff games. Here they go. They find a way to scrap, by the way, and get around Atlanta in the divisional round. And then they come out with their backup quarterback and absolutely put a beat down on the number one defense in the NFL. And that would have been the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, listen, I mean, this game, Minnesota scores the first touchdown and Philly goes for the next 38. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, just incredible. And when it was nice that you thought that they go down, the nice pass to Kyle Rudolph, former teammate of yours and Jake's. I mean, it was a nice play. You thought, okay, they started out well running the ball. They mixed the run and the pass, and then that was all she wrote. You go with that pick six, and then on a reverse of the field from Robinson, it was a really nice return. And what they did to what we thought was the best defense, Jacksonville laid claim to it, but Minnesota, especially a pass defense, for how they got ripped apart, man, tip your cap to Philly.
It was crazy, the start of the game for Philadelphia, too. You remember Trey Burton had that really bad, wide-open third down catch just where he didn't get both feet
jumped for no reason.
Right. Didn't get both his feet down. For the defense, that Kyle touchdown, he was wide open because they were miscommunicated before the snap. It was a blown coverage on the part of the linebackers, so he was basically running scot-free. And then they settled, and it became completely different, and they won both sides of the line of scrimmage in a way that I wasn't ready for. These Eagles offensive line that lost arguably their best player in Jason Peters midway through the season, and then lost their quarterback, has really stepped up. They were dominant yesterday in almost every phase of the game. And then on the other side, the Eagles D-line that we knew was great really took it to the one area that people rightly pointed out as a weakness for Minnesota, which is an offensive line that had to shuffle the deck a little bit. Their right tackle was playing left guard and Mike Remmers. They lost Pat Elflein in the second half, their rookie center. So a lot in flux there, but Philly took it to them in both the areas where it mattered most.
Yeah, that first drive was so disheartening for Philadelphia. They scored the next 38 points in the game.
Really bummed them out.
It was like that drive was in a completely different world, and then the rest of the game took place. You can't say enough, by the way, about what Nick Foles did. Because, look, let's be honest. He did not look great down the stretch of the regular season outside of one start against the Giants, and he did not look great in that first playoff game against Atlanta. He was 26 of 33 for 350-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. But he completed his last 15 throws. And by completing his last 15 throws, he has now done something that the list includes Nick Foles and Joe Montana. They are the only people to have completed 75% of their throws in back-to-back playoff games in a single postseason. So when the list is you and Joe Montana, I mean, here's how crazy this weekend was for the quarterbacks. Nick Foles did something that only Joe Montana did. Blake Bortles, at one point in the first half, completed 12 straight throws against the Patriots. The only other quarterbacks to do that against the Patriots, Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning. So we have Blake Bortles now on the same level as Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger against New England, and we have Nick Foles in a similar comparison with Joe Montana. What the hell's going on?
And going into it, we talked about the 4 quarterbacks, one being Tom Brady and then the other 3. There were two certainties. Tom Brady's the GOAT, and Nick Foles is not going to be the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles next year.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Certainties. Case Keenum, we don't know what's going on. And Blake Bortles, we don't know what's going on. Those were two certainties. And here's Nick Foles. We keep talking about, Case Keenum's making him some money. Blake Bortles had his option picked up for $19 million. He's going to make some money. And then there's Nick Foles. Nick Foles is putting himself. Just here, just kind of, and I mean, Philly, you love the guy as a backup next year. I mean, what a great backup to have. He helped lead, even though it was just a few starts, your team to the Super Bowl when Wentz goes out.
And to your point about that 75% completion, what's even more impressive is at 10.7 yards per completion in this game. Like, they were airing this thing out.
He was pushing the ball down the field.
Don't get me wrong. There were a ton of run-pass options. Like, if you're New England, that's what
He's
you
throwing
prepare
that slant
for,
really well.
Is throwing that, because in the first half, it seemed like he never even thought about handing it off. It was throwing that slant. Aguilar was huge for them, but to have that confidence and to have that in there along with 75% completion makes it all the more impressive.
Well, and when he had to hold the ball, I don't know how he got out of the one touchdown pass. Who was that? That was to Alshon, right? To Jeffrey, the 53-yarder. How we got out of that, but, give the O-line credit for sticking with their blocks. D-line got penetration, but couldn't get off their blocks. You have to give a lot of credit, and you mentioned it before, to that offensive line. Because remember, Foles isn't Wentz. No. He's in the pocket. He's not running around. And I know some were the RPOs with the quicker slants. But when he is throwing it downfield, he's got to stand in the pocket. He has to have some time. He was only sacked one time yesterday. So that O-line, again, missing Peters, Vaitai out there.
Pulivati Vaitai.
I'm out there.
I just like saying his name.
I know you do. And you say
H. Wow.
Big V.
Give me a nickname for him.
Big V.
Big V.
Big V.
That's what they call him.
He's improved because remember when he had to go in for Lane Johnson when Lane got suspended last year at right tackle? There was some trouble there. And you went over at left tackle. You wondered, would they move Lane to left and him to right? You didn't want to switch up 2 positions. Yeah. They put Big V out there to left. He's doing a nice job. And that O-line with an undersized center in Kelsey who'll bite, scratch, and kick the hell out of you. Wisniewski, who's found new life in Philadelphia.
Who was a former center, by the way, and they laud both of them. Football intelligence off the charts for two guys that can help out a backup quarterback.
Undersized guys, and then Brooks at right guard and Lane Johnson at right tackle, the right side of that line. You got to give them a ton of credit for this.
You absolutely do. And you're right, that one long one, I mean, he had a day and a half to throw.
Day and a half,
Those O-linemen were doing work on that play. But again, Foles, 75% complete, 352 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interception, a QBR of 95.8 out of 100, a rating of 141.4 out of 158.3, which is my favorite stat. Let's make 158.3 the standard and work our way backwards from there. Someone at some point, I need to know how someone thought that was a good idea. We're trying to scratch our heads. We really can't figure out where this came from Nick Foles, but to be honest, neither can he.
I mean, words can't really describe what I feel right now. I said it out there, all glory belongs to God. I mean, I wouldn't be here without any of that, and just I'm grateful and humbled to be a part of this team, to be in this moment, to share it with our family, our fans, all the people that love the Philadelphia Eagles, this franchise, my teammates. It is honestly unbelievable, and words just can't describe.
If you're not watching it on TV,
words can't describe his look.
Yeah, he's got the gray championship T-shirt and the hat on, and he's got some glasses on.
Yeah,
he looks like he's coming from CPA school.
Yeah, he does. You know? He's 6'6", 243, and he didn't look anything like 6'6".
He looks like he makes his own candles at home. Like
he's Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
It is alarming.
But I will say, in the difference of the first game to the second game, they attacked.
Yes,
they attacked. And that's why, it's going to give some people pause of just going immediately with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, which most people are going to do.
Yep.
But the way they attacked, even with the lead, they kept attacking. That's what you have to do. That's what they do, and that's what you have to do against a team like New England if you're to get a lead against them.
Absolutely. And look, we'll get into a lot more of this game in just a little bit. There's one guy that I couldn't be happier for, because of the way his career began and how it's ending up with the last couple of years has been absolutely amazing. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. On the TV side, we'll be bouncing over to ESPN2 in just a little bit. Again, coming up in the next hour, Jeff Saturday, ESPN analyst, will join us. 8:30, Brian Billick will be on the phone from the NFL Network talking about Championship Sunday and looking ahead to Super Bowl 42. And at 9 o'clock, Ryan Clark, the always dapper Ryan Clark, will join us here in studio. So there are lots of tentacles about all the players and the stories that can go everywhere out of Championship Sunday and leading into the Super Bowl. But I'm not sure there's a better one than the day that the Ertz family had on Sunday. Zach, of course, a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, had some big catches and is on his way to playing in his first Super Bowl. 8 catches for 93 yards. And then, Mike, there's the story of his wife, Julie.
Yeah, she's on the U.S. women's national team, and she's the reigning U.S. Soccer Female Player of the Year. She played, their game started, I believe, an hour after the Eagles game started. They had a game against Denmark, and Julie scored what turned out to be the winning goal in the 19th minute of that U.S. game. So she scores a goal. They win the game, and then afterward, they find out about, each other's success more. Obviously, Julie finding out that Zach had made the Super Bowl. I know he FaceTimed her, I believe, in the locker room.
Yes.
After the game. But how about that? The reigning National Player of the Year scores the game-winning goal, and then you find out your husband wins his game and going to the Super Bowl. That's a pretty nice sports night for a sports family.
My God, I mean, show me the children. Let me buy stock now, immediately.
The agents are putting cards, right away with them for your. We want the kids. We want to represent them.
Just down the road. Just keep this in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, they were both playing at the same time.
Right.
Julie didn't know for sure that the Eagles had won, and she said, I was kind of looking around for someone to give me confirmation and answers. I feel like I needed it from at least 3 people to make it feel real. And then she said, I just got super emotional. That's not bad.
Yeah, she got a text that simply said that we are going to the Super Bowl, and then Maury said he FaceTimed me right when I got in there. So, of course, I was, again, really emotional but super excited. I'll call him a little bit later. He's going to go and celebrate with the boys for a little bit, though.
but here's the best part. They had the game scheduled at the same time, which was a little unusual. But Julie now won't have to report to her National Women's Soccer League team until late in February. That means calendar's wide open for a little trip to Minneapolis.
That'll be nice.
Do you think the tears started when she realized that the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis and not somewhere warm? She's like, all right, we get to go to Minneapolis, babe.
Oh, yeah.
Really excited for you.
Nice. Listen, and
God, why?
Great town. Looking forward to it, but middle of winter.
As we like to do, we're more concerned about us.
Yes, we are.
So I took a little sneak peek at the forecast.
Weather? Yeah. Could we possibly get in the 30s, maybe?
There is one day, Super Bowl week, where it'll be in the 30s.
Ooh.
And then the weekend looks like high of 16, low of 1.
Okay.
Is that with or without the wind chill, Trey?
The wind chill doesn't exist, especially in Minneapolis, because they have the gerbil tunnels. They have the hamster tunnels. You can go build. You can never have to walk outside if you don't want to.
So I shouldn't bring a winter coat?
Nah, bring shorts.
Okay.
Be bold. Go big or go home, Mike.
Wow.
That would be the greatest thing in the world if you did the entire show all week in Minneapolis in shorts and a flip-flop.
That won't be happening.
Proving the point that you can get from point A to point B in Minneapolis without going outside.
Yeah, that's
But you know what
happen.
the good news is for the Vikings is that now Adam Thielen will be free to be our official guy.
Yes, he will.
We had him on the show before the NFC Championship game, or was it before I think it was before the divisional round.
I think it was, yeah.
And we said, look, man, if things don't go well, will you be the official tour guide for our show in Minneapolis? Yeah. So we need to get him on the phone because I'm sure he'd be really thrilled about doing that now.
Why don't we call him this morning? Can we get him by the end of the segment?
Yeah. Wait,
See what he's doing.
and get him a reminder.
Can I
that's
tell
what
you
he told
something
us
that's
he's going to do.
not going to happen?
Yeah.
It's going to be that.
Yeah. Well, that and you not wearing shorts.
Yeah, that and people continue complaining about the officiating in the New England-Jacksonville game. I know it's going to go on all morning. How about this stat? Of the 265 regular season and postseason NFL games this season, just 12 times has a team been flagged for one penalty. The Patriots were the 12th yesterday. So there are 11 other times where a team only had one penalty. So it has happened before. It doesn't only happen to the Patriots. It doesn't happen a lot. I'll tell you that's for sure.
Right.
But it did happen yesterday with just one penalty, and it was on a kickoff return, I believe, right?
It was
a push in the back,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But that's my issue, okay? There's one penalty that we looked at that none of us thought was a penalty, the A.J. Bouye thing. That's fine. Can you find me like 8 plays where you think the Patriots should have been flagged?
Well, you could always
There were some blatant holdings that people pointed out. There was some stuff that they let fly. They were letting it fly in the first half for everybody. Yeah. It was after that Gronk hit that it seemed to change for Jacksonville, and I think that's what people are a little miffed with.
A little ticked off about, yeah.
I don't know.
But listen, I'm not going down that road either. You can stop him at 3rd and 18, and you could be a little more aggressive offensively.
All that being said, you had him in a 3rd and 18 in the fourth quarter against the best defense going out there, and you let him convert it. So that's not on the refs.
Nope.
That's on you. And that's Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up, we've got a Super Bowl champion in here to discuss Championship Sunday. And he also knows what it's like to not win on Championship Sunday. We'll get to that as well. Stay with us. Golic and Wingo.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick. Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.